What happened today when President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping talked about the Russian war with Ukraine? I'm going to tell you how each government interpreted the call in a second. But first, if you're confused about why this call matters and what the relationship is between the U.S. and China, please go watch this video. I posted it yesterday. It has all the backstory. Now, back to today's call. When any conversation between world leaders happens, each government releases what's called a readout. What's important to understand, readouts usually slant towards the government that puts them out. So the American side makes Biden look good, and the Chinese side makes Xi look good. I have readouts from both. This one is from the White House, and this one is the English version from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China. There are facts that both sides agree on. The call lasted almost 2 hours. It was a video call. Both presidents agree a diplomatic resolution between Russia and Ukraine is the best solution, and both task their teams to follow up on today's conversation. But there are differences. They're subtle, but they're there. The White House readout mentions Russia 3 times, including condemning Russia. The Chinese readout doesn't mention Russia once, nor does it condemn Russia. It does say Ukraine's crisis is not something we want to see. The White House readout says Biden described the implications and consequences if China provides material support to Russia. The Chinese readout doesn't mention any of this. The White House readout says President Biden reiterated the U.S. policy on Taiwan and that it has not changed and we oppose any change to the status quo. The Chinese English readout does not mention this at all. The White House readout says the two leaders agreed to keep the lines of communication open, acknowledging the importance of managing the competition between the U.S. and China. The Chinese readout interprets it a little differently, saying China and the U.S. are the world's 2 leading economies who both sit as permanent members of the UN Security Council and have a responsibility to peace and security. Now, the Chinese readout focuses heavily on the word peace, using it twice in just 6 sentences, saying things like countries should not come to the point of meeting on the battlefield and conflict and confrontation are not in anyone's interest. Now, China really wants to be seen through the lens of the English translation that I'm talking about, but the truth is, there's another readout meant for the Chinese audience that's paragraphs long and uses stronger language, mentioning the predicament created by the United States' previous administration and how it caused a strain between China and the U.S. that still hasn't healed, and also criticizes the signals sent by some in the U.S. about Taiwan's independence, saying that's dangerous. It ends by using language not included in the English version of the readout. In the Chinese version, President Xi is making it clear he holds the U.S. responsible for the root causes of Russia's actions. 9 army bases named after Confederate generals will soon have new names, and now we know what those options are. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me take you way back to June of 2020 when I posted this video. At that time, under President Trump, his defense secretary and secretary of the Army signaled that they were open to a bipartisan dialogue about changing the names of these bases. Negotiations went on, and ultimately Congress made the name change a requirement in the National Defense Authorization Act in late 2020. It passed with bipartisan support, and President Trump signed it into law. The 9 Army bases on the name change list include some of the biggest and most prominent, including Fort Hood, Fort Benning, and Fort Bragg. Since late 2020, a congressional naming commission has been working on the new name options and has asked the public for suggestions. In fact, 34,000 came in, and the list has been now narrowed down to 87, including Dwight D. Eisenhower, Colin Powell, Harriet Tubman, and several Medal of Honor recipients. I'll put the full list on my website so you can read them all. So now what? The commission will consult with Army-based leaders and their local communities and will send their recommendations to Congress by October 1st. The Pentagon will then have until early 2024 to make the changes.